2, 1, and we are live. Let me put some lights on me so you guys can see me. All right. We are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintrow. How you doing, Seth?
I'm good.
You're calling us live from Kentucky, right?
That's right. We're at
All
the
right, we're gonna talk.
Electrek Formula Sun.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. But before we do that, I want to say a quick thank you to today's episode sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Bosch Mobility Aftermarket, a global leader and trusted provider of automotive aftermarket parts. To celebrate Amazon Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th, Bosch Mobility is offering exclusive savings on must-have auto parts and tools. You can learn more on the Amazon store for Bosch Mobility on the link in the show notes, but we're going to have a little bit more to say about them later on the show, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, first thing off, we want to talk to you a little bit about the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix, which is going on right now in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Seth is there. So how's it going, Seth?
It's hot, but that's good because we need the sun. I think there's around 10 teams still competing. A lot of the teams haven't made the cut yet, so they're still trying to get their cars ready. This has been the biggest year, I think, since before COVID, and one of the biggest years in history. I think there's like 35 teams and another 9 or 10 teams that are just there to watch and kind of learn. One of the nice things about the event is that the teams learn a ton of stuff from each other, both from how to race, but also the controllers, the motors, the batteries. There's a lot of like cross pollination happening, and it's just a great event. Like everybody's just having a great time here. So one of our favorite things to do in the summertime here is to watch these kids race their cars.
Your solar cars. We have the Polytechnic Montreal from where I'm from here. That's was one of the top scoring one last year, I think, right?
That thing flies. They have that thing going like 65 miles per hour. It's amazing.
And it's a two-seater, this one, right? Because there's a single-seater category, and then there's a two-seater category. This one's a two-seater. We have Aaron that's with you there, and he's doing a lot of social media posts. So if you guys want to follow us on, especially on Instagram and also on X, he posts a lot about what's going on. So you get like the most up-to-date idea what's happening. But today is the hot track throughout the day that's about to finish. But then tomorrow you have the award ceremony, some morning charging, and also some hot track time. So if you're still not too far from Kentucky and want to make it there, there's still time to watch the kids do their thing with their solar cars, which really impressive stuff.
Yep.
All right, on not so good news, the big beautiful bill that Trump and the GOP has been tossing around the Senate and the House for the last few months is official now. I don't think it's signed just yet, but I mean, obviously being called Trump's beautiful bill, I don't think it's going to be a surprise on his desk and he's going to veto it for some reason. Now, this thing is happening. It was modified in the Senate last week. We talked about that a little bit on the podcast, and then the modification happened. Then it went back to the House, and then for a second, people thought maybe because of a few Republicans in the House, like Massey and really a handful of others, like now it's just Massey and Fitzgerald, I think, that didn't vote for it. People thought maybe there'd be some momentum that could stop this thing in the House, but nope. No, it went by quite quickly. And in fact, the worrying thing now is that, I mean, I'm going to go through the bill when it affects electric vehicles, batteries, and renewable energy in a second. But the thing is, some of the holdouts were holding out because they thought it didn't go further enough in cutting into these renewable energy and everything. And apparently, the thing that sweetened the deal for some of them is that Trump met directly with some of these congressmen, and he promised them that he's going to go deeper through executive actions, executive orders after the fact. So yeah, it's not gonna be nice because basically everything is gone. Almost everything is gone through the bill, through the latest version. The EV tax credit for $7,500 is gonna is going to go away as soon as September 30th. So now it's sooner
3 months.
than it was. Yeah, so it's just 3 months away. It's going to go by quickly. It's going to result probably in a little boost of EV adoption in the US for this quarter, and then a crash after that in Q4 and going forward. There's a bunch of other things that are going to be gone pretty quickly. By the end of the year, the tax credit for rooftop solar is gone. The tax credit then that's attached also for energy storage, residential energy storage. So the Powerwall market and so forth. That's also going to be reduced quite a bit. There's the incentive. The ZEV credits are efficiently gone too, almost immediately. It's like we've discussed a lot. Like they don't technically have the rights to do it, but even though they removed the right for the waiver that California had to have their stricter emissions, that is being contested in court right now. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But what they did, these little sneaky GOP members, is that instead they basically killed the markets for them. They remove any fines that the government can apply if you don't have the credits. So basically, now there's no point of buying credits from other automakers like Tesla and Rivian and any automaker that have a surplus because you won't get fined for it. So if you won't get fined, there's no market. So that it will either crash the price or kill the market completely. So that is also gone. The credits that you get, though, the rebates that you get for building battery packs and battery modules and battery cells in the US remains for now, but it's going to be phased out over the next few years. And that is apparently one of those things that I just said that Trump is looking to attack through executive order angles. So we'll see about that. Slow down quite a bit or remove completely. There's added tax now on solar projects starting after if they built after 2027. Same thing for wind project, energy storage project. Energy storage project actually get phased out over a little bit longer period of time, but also might be at risk with Trump executive orders. The only like slightly positive things for electric vehicle is now you can deduct from your taxes the um, interest on car loan payments, but there's so many restriction on that. First of all, it's not for anyone that makes over $100,000 to. It starts to phase out from 100 to $150,000 income. So, uh, and a lot of people that makes under $100,000, they generally don't. They often lease a car or they will buy used. So, it really limits a ton of the market there. But even then, like it basically adds up to best case scenario, unless you're buying a very expensive vehicle, and again, that doesn't make sense with the income restriction. You basically gonna save like $500 a year on your car payment based by deducting if you have the ability to deduct on your taxes. So it's not bad, but like it doesn't, and then that's for all cars, by the way. That's not just for electric cars. So it doesn't compensate the $7,500 tax credit, not even a little, really. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it. So what we can expect from that is we can expect, I think, a great slowdown of renewable energy deployment in the US, especially starting next year at the residential level. And electric vehicle adoption is going to crash starting in Q4 this year. Does that make sense, Ed?
Well, it makes sense if you are an oil company or if you are a gasoline company or you sell coal, maybe. But if you're the CEO of a electric vehicle company that also does solar and battery storage, that may not be the political party that you want to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in.
Yeah.
So, kind of confused about the whole motivation thing there.
And it looks like the CEO that you just referenced is kind of waking up right now, like realizing that this is happening. He's like, oh shit, he's really doing it. I don't know what he's surprised about. I don't know if he's surprised about. I don't think he's actually surprised that this is happening. I think that I think everyone saw this coming. Like even his own fans said it. Like they just tried to rationalize it that it won't actually be bad for Tesla. So I think he's more like in that camp. I think Elon kind of thought that Tesla would be in such a good position by now that it wouldn't matter as much. It would be more like kicking the ladder for, and we discussed that before, kicking the ladder that they use to get up there for the Rivians and the Lucid and the Scout and all these other EV startups of this world in the US specifically, because so we're talking specifically about the US market here. Um, that it would affect them negatively more than Tesla, and it would slow down like legacy automakers investing in electric vehicles, which is true. That's likely what's going to happen now. But that ultimately Tesla would be on top because people would keep wanting electric vehicles, which I think is still going to be the case. Excuse me, just drink a Coke. um, I think it's still going to be the case. I think EV adoption, like most people who want the electric vehicles, like it doesn't make sense to buy them if at least there's not the extra $200 a year tax on it. That hasn't made it through, fortunately. So that's the only good news. The good news is that something that they wanted to do to kill electric vehicles didn't happen. Like a lot of the rest is bad, obviously. But yeah, so I think he thought like Tesla would be in such a great position, but now he realized, oh, I mean, he realizes because he hasn't been much at Tesla in the last 3-4 years, whatever, especially since he bought Twitter, I think is when like he started spending a lot less time at Tesla. And obviously in the last since October, when he started investing heavily in the election, and then obviously Doge and all that, he was extremely disconnected from Tesla. I think he didn't understand the level of a bad position Tesla is right now. And now he sees like, okay, our only healthy market right now is well, I shouldn't say our only significant market that is still healthy, somewhat healthy, is the US. And now it's going to see a giant pullback on electric vehicle adoption through the removal of the incentive. And also, by the way, like I don't want to be all doom and gloom here, but I think the US is at a risk of like major recession here. It might be already in a recession. Like the GDP growth was negative first quarter, could be also this quarter, and then you would be in a classical sense in a recession. But a lot of these moves that they're doing, and the increasing the debt like crazy, and the dollar is now down almost 10% on the year. This is all stuff that doesn't loom well for the US. So if you're on top of that, you're in a big recession. The US market's going to slow down greatly, and then Tesla's only large LT market is going to collapse. So it's not a good situation. So obviously they are going all in on the robo-taxi stuff and the Optimus stuff, and now Elon says that AI and robotic is the only way forward to increase GDP and all that, which we're still far away from that, I think. But that's the goal now. That's the moving of the goalpost for Tesla. All right, but things are not as bad as we expected. At least the Tesla reported their Q2 numbers, and they announced that they delivered 284,000 vehicles, which is higher than we expected. Higher, a lot of the more reputable analysts expected, but basically right on expectation for Wall Street that was expecting 385,000 vehicles. So they're just short of that. Now, it's not all good, by the way, because obviously you're still down 13.5% on the year. So that's 2 quarters in a row now that Tesla is down year over year. And there's no clear sign of recovery here, with Tesla adding again about 25,000 vehicles to the inventory. So that's 2 quarters in a row now, adding about 25,000 vehicles to inventory. Not very good. And also, I mean, don't want to put my tinfoil hat on and everything, but I am skeptical, like highly skeptical of some of these numbers here. Like it seems like why our expectation were a bit lower than the reality here is well, US market might have been a little more a little better than we thought, but again, I always said that I thought that the US market was the healthiest one for Tesla. I think it's the rest of the world. Like we have clear data in China. China is down. Tesla is down quarter over quarter in China. Tesla is basically the same in Europe, quarter over quarter, even with the new Model Y. So Tesla was still obviously lying about the new Model Y being the problem. It's the rest of the world market, which is not huge for Tesla, but like South Korea did very well, and like I don't have any reason to doubt that Tesla did well in South Korea with the new Model Y. There was a lot of backup of orders for the new Model Y, and then they actually delivered them. Turkey is a little bit more suspicious to me because like it looks like 7,000 units in June out of 4 stores, which would mean like an average of like 60 deliveries per day out of 4 stores, which makes zero sense whatsoever. It's a little bit surprising. Like I would have doubts of that, and like so a lot of people are like concerned that Tesla might be like buying its own vehicle at those dealership through the dealers being under in certain countries. Tesla's dealers are under on other companies. Like they have to open up a local company, and then Tesla can sell it to itself. So there might be some shenanigans going on there. I wouldn't be surprised at this point. But because those are the reason. Like Tesla is a little bit stronger in the U.S., but not by that much. And a lot stronger in rest of the world markets like Turkey, like South Korea. People like are saying like Australia is doing great, but it's actually still down year over year for year to date in Australia. So I wouldn't say it's exactly doing great. Tesla also
Also,
yeah.
I noticed that there are 25,000 production over deliveries. That's a bigger gap than usual, isn't it?
Well, then usual, yes, previous year because the last quarter was also that. So it's like 2 quarters in a row now that's overproduction of 25,000
So
units.
where are all going?
Yeah, so where are those vehicles now? So like Tesla, as of like the 1st of July, must have been sitting on like 50,000 extra vehicles, just for this year. So yeah, again, kind of skeptical about some of the numbers. They
Hmm.
also reported the energy storage deployment of 9.6 gigawatt hour, which is down from last quarter. That was 10.4, basically the same from Q2 of last year. So no growth here on the energy storage front, but that's, I mean, roughly 10 gigawatt hour per quarter is the capacity of mega packs out of Lathrop. Tesla just started deliveries from the Shanghai mega factory. So there take time. And then there's obviously power walls that should also contribute a few gigawatt hours per quarter. But the mega pack capacity, 10 gigawatt hour out of Lathrop, that's also like this deployment depends on, so if it's a big project, it needs to be turned online, everything, it can take a while. So there's room for fluctuation. However, I think that Tesla should be careful with growth expectations on that front, energy storage, because of in the US has been a big market for Tesla on that front, and the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, is going to slow that down quite a bit. Not well. I mean, there could be some acceleration too in the short term if there was some project that they think they can get online by the end of next year. That could help a little bit, but in general, I think we should expect a slowdown. And then globally, I I think Tesla is in more trouble, especially like with CATL and BYD having like very similar products to the Mega Pack now, and Tesla basically using their cells in the Mega Pack. BYD and CATL find themselves with a big advantage there. The big difference now is like I've seen China, for example, a few weeks ago had the biggest tender offer for energy storage ever, like 25 gigawatt hour. Like that would be like a half a year of Tesla's capacity, basically. And from what I've seen from all the bids that have been made public so far, Tesla is not in there. Like they cannot compete with um, with the kind of low cost that they're delivering. Obviously, again, Gigafactory Shanghai is just ramping up, so you never know. But Tesla doesn't seem to be able to compete with that. Yeah, the last thing I should mention about the this is like the biggest like low point is the other models. Again, we hate that Tesla does that. We hate that Tesla is completely opaque with their vehicle numbers. They don't want people to track the health of their vehicle program, which should be a big red flag for anyone, by the way. They bundle together Model 3, Model Y, and then they bundle everything else, Model S, X, Cybertrucks, Tesla Semi, in other models. And it hits a new low this quarter at just 10,000 units delivered between all of those. So assuming that Model S and X are still holding at just over 5,000 units, I would assume between 5 and 6. That puts Cybertruck between 4 and 5 thousand units in a single quarter now, which is abysmal. Like obviously, with the planned capacity of 250,000 units per year, you have an utilization rate of the production line at basically 10%, less than 10%. So normally, a vehicle program that does that gets itself caught. Now, I don't think that this is going to do that. Certainly not under Musk. Like, cannot like give up on it. But something has to be done. Like you cannot keep operating a production line at 10% capacity. It's horrific for financial reasons. Did I put my master plan post in there? Oh no, I skipped that. Yeah, I put that. I put this in. I don't know if you saw that. I post my. I wrote that in the plane coming back from China. My secret Tesla master plan part 4. A lot of people like that. It's since Elon has been talking about it for like a year, but hasn't released it. I decided to write my own and publish it. And I do address the Cybertruck in this one, like doing something about the Cybertruck because it's one of the terrible one. But basically, I instead of always like being down on Tesla and everything, I at least offer some solutions in there where I think we can get Tesla back on track. But obviously, the first point is you need to get Musk out of there, which is obviously the most difficult one. And if you don't get that done, there's nothing else that's going to happen.
Yeah, nothing else is going to happen.
So kind of stuck there. All right, this thing is kind of going viral on X over the last few days. Another prototype, Tesla prototype that is spotted, and people are super excited. They're like, this is the new affordable model and everything. He's like, maybe, but there's a lot of confusion about the affordable models, plural maybe, that are coming from Tesla. First of all, they were supposed to be already in production since last month because they said they would come in the first half of 2025, and now we are officially for the last 4 days in the second half. Um, I think a lot of the confusion comes from Elon having denied the original Reuters report about the cancellation of the $25,000 model. Elon denied that, and then people are like getting super confused now about so if he denies it, it's coming and everything. But then all the reports, including ours, that came after that, and then what Tesla itself said during several different earnings, it is confirmed at this point that there's the $25,000 model is indeed canceled. Tesla said that that was announced originally on the new platform, on the new Unbox platform, and Tesla clearly said that only the robotaxi, the Cybercab now, is planned on the new platform, and that instead Tesla is planning to build what they said at first they called new affordable models, but and they might be called new models, by the way. They might not be called Model 3, Model Y, but what we learned clearly since then is that Tesla plans to build basically stripped down Model 3, Model Ys on the current production line to increase the utilization, which is now down to about 60% for the Model 3, Model Ys across the factories. So they need to get that back up, and they think they can do that by increasing demand through reducing the prices of those vehicles with cheaper models. But those models, they might not be called Model 3, Model Y, so they might be official models, but they're going to be essentially the same models. They're going to be stripped down version. But now this prototype here that's been spotted in the last few days, people are like speculating because if there's other Model Ys that are not too far from it, like, and when you look at it, it looks just like a Model Y, like same roof, same angle, same format, everything. They just like there's some camouflage in the front, camouflage in the back that might indicate different front end, different bumpers, but basically the same vehicle. It's the size that people are really concerned about. So I put it to ChatGPT to try to understand, to compare the size of the wheels with the different angle of the camera and everything. ChatGPT is unconclusive, but they think that yes, it's possible that the wheelbase is a little bit different. So the wheelbase might be a little bit smaller. So yes, it's possible. And that would be a way to make it a little bit cheaper. But if it's a little bit smaller, like it's going to be like inches smaller, people. So it's not going to be that big of a difference. And I think the bigger difference is going to be the fact that it's going to be stripped down. So it's going to be, you know, cheaper materials inside, no vegan leather, replace that with some textile, probably no rear screen, probably no heated or ventilated seats, maybe even the double pane acoustic glass goes away like in the other Model 3 that was sold in Mexico. Maybe a lesser audio system with fewer speakers, things like that, I think is are likely going to be the big difference maker here. And again, the goal is just to increase the utilization rate. I would expect this to be unveiled quite soon because Tesla really needs it at this point, especially in China. So in the last few years, Tesla launches new vehicle in China first. And in China this week, I guess we can jump right away on the other post on this. Like I talked about the YU7 that's going to be having a big impact from Xiaomi on the Model Y in China. But then another vehicle launched this week, the Xpeng G7. And that vehicle is a direct Model Y competitor. They did the exact same thing during the presentation as last week with Li John of Xiaomi, the CEO of Xpeng. They they pull out this tweet that Tesla put, no, the tweet, a Weibo post, I guess, in China. I think it was Weibo, whatever, where Tesla is like welcome comparison to their vehicles. So obviously Xiaomi use that as a direct invitation to compare the YU7 spec and pricing to Tesla, and now Xpeng did the exact same thing with the G7. And the big difference is like they went even more aggressive than Xiaomi on the pricing because the vehicle is a little bit more classic looking. There's the light bar that resembles a lot the new Model Y. It's not them copying Tesla, by the way, because the rest of the lineup of Xpeng has the same headlights, and actually Xpeng claimed that Tesla copied their design for the light bar on the new Model Y. Talk about the specs here. So it's only a rear-wheel drive version for now, so at least there's that. But again, the rear-wheel drive Model Y is by far the best-selling Model Y. I think 95% or something of Tesla's Model Y they sell in China or rear-wheel drive, the cheap version. They have 6.5 seconds 0 to 100 with 292 horsepower. Then you have two different battery pack versions. So you have a 68.5 kilowatt hour and 88.8 kilowatt hour, both of them LFP. Very good LFP cells, though. Like you have a 5C charging for 436 kilometers of 271 miles of range in 10 minutes. But the range varies between 602 kilometers to 702, so 374 miles to 436 miles between these two versions. And that's more than the Model Y, at least the base version that they are going after here. As vehicle to load with a 6 kilowatt capacity, just like the YU7. Here's some pictures of the design, like very similar format as the Model Y. But it has a lot of features, and the Model Y doesn't have, like AR heads-up display, and it's the very popular one from Huawei that a lot of Chinese automakers are using now. That has an 87-inch field of view inside the windshield. It's very impressive stuff. Then 20 speaker system, 50-watt dual wireless phone chargers in the front. They have the top model, the Ultra, as two Turing AI chip, which is the Xpeng's own chip, with they claim as 2,250 tops of compute power, which is obviously a lot more than Tesla. But the base version used the NVIDIA Orin X chip with 508 tops, and they are all equipped with fully, future-proof self-driving hardware suite. But obviously, they are aiming for, allow self-driving consumer vehicles in China yet, so they plan to do it with future software update. Now, the crazy thing is the price on the G7, which starts at 195,000 yen, which is the equivalent of 27,225 US dollars. That's for the base max variant. The names are a little bit confusing. But then if you want the longer range version, you barely add $1,500 to it, $28,720, 205 yen. So for 28,000, you get the longer range 702 kilometers version, and you're still several $1,000s cheaper than the short range version of the rear-wheel drive Model Y. And then you have the Ultra, which again has like all the bigger hardware suite. And this one is $31,500, which I think is still cheaper
Wow.
than the. I think that's still cheaper than the base Tesla. And
Batteries must not be very expensive in China.
I mean, yeah, you're using the same batteries as Tesla, really. Like they're using like the BYD and BYD Findring and CATL and all that. So it's I think it's more on the manufacturing front that they get an advantage. And you see, they got 10,000 pre-orders in 46 minutes, so like nowhere near, obviously, the 200,000 in 3 minutes that Xiaomi got. Even though Xpeng has more experience as an automaker,
Mhm.
Xiaomi does enjoy like a bigger like brand advantage, obviously, with their like consumer electronic brand that's been around for a long time. But this is like the second of like four major Model Y competitor coming in China this month, like launching now. So Tesla is under a lot of pressure in China, and so the cheaper Model Y obviously would help there. Even though I think it would cannibalize itself too, and I think the comparison on specs would be even tougher against these YU7 and G7, but we'll see. All right, let's talk a little bit about our friends at Bosch Mobility Set.
All right. Today's episode is brought to you by Bosch Mobility Aftermarket, a global leader and trusted provider of automotive aftermarket parts. Bosch's worldwide network offers a complete range of solutions for the whole workshop, including a wide range of replacement parts, both new and remanufactured for passenger cars and commercial vehicles. As you probably know, Amazon Prime Day is back with 4 days of deals from July 8th through 11th. And to celebrate, Bosch Mobility is offering exclusive savings on must-have auto parts and tools. That includes Bosch's Icon wiper blades, which are easy to install and can last up to 40% longer than other wiper blades. Whether you need wipers, HEPA air filters, spark plugs, brake pads, batteries, head to Bosch's Mobility's Amazon store during Summer Prime Day for the best deals for your car and your wallet. Last year, auto part purchases tripled during Prime Day. So for the industry pros or DIYers, Prime Day is a perfect opportunity to grab the essentials you know you'll need to stay prepared before any market for sponsoring today's show.
I think I got a little bit behind you for some second. Uh, you hear me, Seth?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'm back on. Yes. Thank you, Bosch, for sponsoring this week's episode. They have put their page on there. They have a lot of cool stuff on their page, and so if you're in the market for some parts for your car or some like mechanic shop tools and all that, it's the time to get them because everything is gonna be on discount. All right, we have a few more news items we want to discuss before jumping into the comment section. So we're gonna have time to talk to you guys today. So I see that a few of our regulars are there. Carl is there. Skeptic is there. Drew is there. So Carl, did I say Carl? So if you guys have questions, you can put them in the comment section right now, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever you're watching, and we're going to respond to you in a few minutes after we get through the news item. If you do enjoy the show, please give us a like, a thumbs up, a subscribe. All those things are free to do, and they help the show quite a bit. All right. Next, where we were at, okay, we're right here. Tesla launched a new Oasis Supercharger. So we've been waiting for that for a long time. I remember tweeting that here to Elon. That was December 24, 2016. I was, I remember that early on in the Supercharger network in like 2012, 2013, when it started rolling out, Elon said that it would be fully powered with solar and batteries, and even that eventually would be off grid. You would only need those, not even a grid connection to operate the fast charging station. And in the end of 2016, I was like, hey, we don't see a lot of that around. Like there was a few stations with canopies, solar canopies, but that's all about it. So I asked Elon about it, and he said the full rollout is going to happen now that the Supercharger V3 and Power Pack V2 plus Solar City are all on their Tesla. So pieces are in place now, and it's going to happen. And almost a decade later at this point, and hasn't really happened. Most of the superchargers are still not connected to solar or batteries. Some of them are, but very few and not in any significant capacity. But last year, we reported on Tesla's project Oasis in Lost Hills, California, between San Francisco and Los Angeles. There's a lot of big supercharger station there, and Tesla was planning a new one. But this one was special and called the Oasis because it was going to be connected to solar, so a big solar farm. So not just a little solar canopies, but a solar canopies plus a big solar farm, and a lot of battery packs to make it mostly grid connected, but mostly off grid, and basically like future proof for avoiding like peak demand charges and all that, and also powered by renewable energy. And this week they announced the opening of it, or at least partly, because it was supposed to be 168 chargers, and it's still planned to be that. But they just opened half of them. So the first 84 chargers are now in operation in Lost Hills, and they have 11 megawatts of ground-mounted and solar canopies on a 30-acre piece of land. You have some of the pictures here. You can see the significant solar canopy, but even more significant is the big solar farm right next to it. And there's also 10 megapacks for 39 megawatt hour of capacity. And now it's already on operation just in time for the 4th of July weekend, which has a lot of travel, obviously. But only half of them are open, and apparently they are open off grid, so it's actually working right now just with the solar and the batteries, which is pretty cool. They're still planning like a significant grid connection to it, but I think the reason they were able to open it a little bit sooner like that is because they are doing it off grid, which is really cool. So hopefully we see more of those Oasis stage supercharger station. All right. We had a little bit of an update on Tesla LFP battery factory too. That's coming up in Nevada. They unveil a little video of it here, and the video in the video they claim that it's nearing completion. So it's not in production just yet, but you see here they are putting the final touches on the systems. We reported on this last year that Tesla has bought some old equipment from CATL, imported that into the US to try to build their own factory with it. And it's already going to production quite soon. And it's going to produce some of the first American LFP cells. And but the capacity is not huge here. At least originally what we heard was like no more than 10 gigawatt hour, which is still significant, but nothing massive. We know obviously Ford is also doing the same thing in Michigan, and they're planning quite a bit bigger factory at 35 gigawatt hour. But Tesla here, we think is just for the mega packs, basically, to avoid some of the tariffs that are coming. Well, the tariffs already increased this year, not because of Trump, but they were supposed to increase on Chinese cell 25%. Then they went up all the way to over 80% during the Trump trade war. Then they were paused. I think still 25%, but the Trump tariffs to 80% were paused. But now the pause is like coming to an end, or like we don't know what's happening. Like I think for China, I think it's August now the deadline, but for the rest of the world, it's like next week, and we have no idea what's going to happen. Most likely, that's going to be delayed again, knowing Trump. But still, it's created a lot of confusion. But I just want to make clear, because a lot of people are like, "Yay, they're building that because of the Trump tariff." Like, no, this has been planned for before Trump, so it has nothing to do with that. All right. Some other numbers from other American automakers with electric vehicles. Ford saw its electric vehicle sales down 31% in the second quarter, so a very bad quarter for Ford's EVs. Ford itself was up 14%. So like their gasoline cars are still doing well, but their EVs are dragging them down. They had some excuses for it though. They claimed, well, first of all, there was the big recall on the Mach-E that hurt them, but also they said that the Q2 was the changeover of the production to the 2025 model year one, so it hurt sales on that because there was not as much availability at the dealership. And for some vehicle like the Ford Lightning, which by the way, 26% fewer sales for the Ford Lightning, still delivered 5,842, which is certainly more than the Cybertruck. So they beat the Cybertruck even at 26%. And that's one of those that they said that they were hurt from availability at the dealership because of the changeover. So they said that they're already seeing like a big uptick in July uh, with more availability just in the last few days. So it's mainly the Mach-E, the Transit. Transit was down 19% to just 418 units. GM had quite a bit of a better quarter for the EVs. The Equinox is starting to ramp up quite a bit now. They're nearing, I think, 20,000 units, if I remember correctly. It was a few days since I read this. Equinox, 17,420 units. So yeah, they are getting close to 20,000 units a quarter now for the Equinox. Then you have the Blazer, a little bit higher end, that had 6,500 units to that. Just over 3,000 sell for the Silverado EVs. But I would argue now that the Silverado probably that GM's electric pickup truck platform is outselling the Cybertruck also, because you have to add to the Silverado like the GMC Sierra version, which sold about just over 1,500 units, and then the Hummer EV is also doing like super well at 4,500 units. Like when it first came out, set you remember like they were selling like a dozen a month for like a year or something. Like
Yeah,
they
and it
were
was
like,
hard to tell if that was like a supply problem or a demand problem, but it
yeah.
seems like, and I'm seeing them like kind of seeing them a lot lately. I've saw two at one station recently, which I thought was crazy.
Yeah, me too. Anecdotally, I see them more, but yeah, 4,500 units. But that's not just the pickup. Obviously, there's a pickup and there's a SUV version, which is popular. What else? The Cadillac is also doing quite well. So 3,200 optics, which I think is still ramping up too. So like we're probably gonna see more in that, because that's the new entry level version. Because the Lyric is still saying well at 5,000 units, and you have the Vistic at 1,700 units, and the Escalade IQ, which is a giant vehicle, 1,800 units in the second quarters.
Cadillac's almost fully EV at this point. That's not true at all, but it,
Yeah.
they're four models.
It's getting into a very complete lineup. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Like you have options all throughout the spectrum for Cadillac, which is nice. Yeah, I know we already discussed the Xpeng, so we can jump into the comment section. So,
All right. Dadtastic says when Waymo started and they had safety drivers, what level did they call it? 2, 3, 4, and Tesla is calling theirs level 4 with a safety driver.
are
I
they
don't
calling them level four?
I don't know. I mean, I guess there's not a driver in there and you can sit in the back, so I guess that's level 4, but
I mean, the only thing, like obviously the goal is level four. Um, I think Waymo, and in this case, the Tesla. I think the problem with Tesla is like they were calling this a launch when it's not really a launch. It's a test program with some people getting invited to it. I think that would be the more appropriate thing, because Waymo was clear that when the safety driver was in the car, it was for testing. Same thing it is right now for the highway driving that they're doing. They're testing it with safety drivers for the most part. I think there's some market where they're not doing safety drivers, but still, they're getting closer to that.
all right, Carl in San Diego says when US lawmakers finally get serious about EVs, they'll just race to the bottom and embrace low-cost EVs from China. They don't have the courage to set regulation or invest in mass transit. All right.
Yeah, it is a problem in the U.S. On that front. I don't know if they're gonna welcome China anytime soon, though. Because let's be clear, I don't see Trump doing that. And who put the 100% tariffs on the Chinese? It was Biden. It was the Democrats. So I don't see a clear path to getting to opening up to China anytime soon, unless there's like a big uprising of like we want these Chinese EV, which is what's happening. Like on you look at my like YouTube video on this, you look at my article on the YU7. It's like all the comments are like, who are the assholes that are preventing me from buying this? Like this is such a
Right.
great car, and you see a lot more of that happening all around. So yeah, it is. So it might happen. One thing that I find interesting too is like I think obviously in Canada we have a better chance of opening up to Chinese EVs sooner than the US. And in Mexico, there's already Chinese EVs, BYDs, enter the market and all that. And I just got invited in Mexico by the local electric vehicle association there to visit a few things there, to report on it, and to see like to discuss basically this issue of the Mexican and Canadian auto industries being so dependent on the US auto industry amid trade wars. And what do you do for EV adoption with that? So I'm curious to go check that out and see like could the Canada do the Mexican model of like opening up to China? And then if that happens, then you have like the US being stuck between Canada having like the cool Chinese EVs and Mexico having the cool Chinese EVs, and you guys being stuck with your, subpar American cars because of stupid regulations. It would be interesting.
Yeah, it would also be easier to, you could buy a Canadian car and drive it over, or Mexican car and drive it over.
I've been hearing a lot of things about people actually importing like some, because especially in the high end of the Chinese EVs now, like there's stuff that you just cannot get in the US. There's no equivalent of them in the US.
Right,
Especially like this crazy luxury electric vans, for example, that you get a driver and then you're like one of those like Maybach type of deal,
right.
but even like crazier than Maybach. I'm hearing that some people are getting them into the US, some very rich, like crypto bros and things like that.
Interesting.
Uh, and they
What
are
about the
doing,
Yang Wang, or what about that one that jumps?
yeah, that's the BYD one from their, their
BYD.
their luxury line. Yeah, I'm sure that someone's gonna get that in the US. But obviously, so that's the thing that you could like. Um, i- People wouldn't care about paying the tariffs on that at that level because they're
Right,
super rich and whatever. However, the bigger issue is like getting this license,
right.
this approved on the
Homologated.
road and everything. So some people prefer to go the gray market route and not even paying the tariffs or anything. So if it's not even working, that's the crazy part too.
Yeah. All right. In a functioning company, the board would remove the guy who caused their products to increase in price by 7,500. Yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg, though. Really, like there's many
Yeah.
more reasons to remove. All right,
There's
Judy.
I see some increased interest into removing Elon as CEO now that he talks about the new party. He's supposed to announce today actually that
The
his
America
new
Party.
the America Party exactly, and but obviously knowing Elon is not going to do it. But well, I know he's going to launch a party, but I think he's not going to remove himself from CEO of Tesla. But because I think like he's going to launch the party and everyone's going to know it's his party and everything, but I don't think he's going to have an official role within the party, especially since he cannot be president or anything. Uh, I think he's just going to finance it and like, this is my party and then put some candidate forward. So, but if you're like behind a political party in the US, like, can you be chief executive of a public company? I've never seen that before. So I don't know.
All right, Judy says people aren't talking enough about the Model 2, which will be successful in the USA, but will dominate Europe and Asia. That's a lot of
There's no
confidence.
Model 2. Like, unless you're talking about the stripped down Model 3, Model Y, but the Model 2 generally, never an official name, by the way, has been referenced to the $25,000 Tesla, which has been canceled by Elon Musk. It's confirmed. Tesla confirmed that. So Elon even is on record saying that it's dumb to make a $25,000 vehicle in the self-driving world. So stop saying that. Now, if you're talking about like the $35,000 stripped down Model Y, Model 3s, yeah, I think they're gonna have some success. I don't know by how much. I don't think it's gonna get Tesla back to growth necessarily, but it's gonna maybe stop the bleeding at least.
All right, let's read a couple Judy's. So we were talking about the wheelbase inches can mean a lot on small European, Asian roads. If Tesla can make a small affordable vehicle, they will bankrupt BYD. No. Tesla is not going bankrupt. They're the most successful EV company out there, with
Okay.
one of the most successful brains on the planet backing them. All right, we can just go on and on here. Very a lot of communications here. Carl in San Diego, Drew, that means nothing. All EV companies are unprofitable except NEO. BYD makes their profits from hybrids. And then,
We don't know that exactly with BYD. They don't disclose it like that. They just they're still profitable right now, and the EVs are becoming a bigger mix of their sales. So we'll see about that. And Neo is not profitable just yet. I think they are aiming for Q4. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
all right, Marco asks, when do you expect charging locations will be covered with solar? I mean, some are now, very few, but
I mean, unfortunately, the BBB, Big Beautiful Bill, is going to slow that down a bit. Like the Oasis project that Tesla just unveiled is not going to be as profitable under the BBB in the future. So in the US, I think we're going to not see it as much, but in China, like I said, like they are ramping up their energy storage effort. They're deploying more solar than the rest of the world combined. So I think you're going to see a lot of that in China. It's going to be like the charging infrastructure of the future. Well, in the US, I'm sure like it still makes sense because you're going to see energy costs go up in the US with that bill. No doubt about it. It's a bill that's made to make utilities more money, more than anything else, to remove the uh, to reduce the ability to be decentralized energy, which I think was super cool in the US now to have like your own rooftop solar, your own energy, make you your own electric utilities. Now the bill kind of reversed that quite a bit, so it's unfortunate.
All right, extension. Just some comments. It's great for creating shadow in the hot days. It's great when raining. In Europe, some chargers have it like Fastnet. Yeah, I think you and I are both huge proponents of solar covered charging aid stations. That makes sense for a bunch of reasons. You don't have to plow in the winter, shaded.
Yeah, canopies make sense even if they don't have solar on it. But then if you're gonna have a canopy, might as well put solar on it. So
Right. And it's also resilience to grid
yeah,
hiccups as well.
yeah.
All right. Sylvian says problem with the Ford is the range versus price. I don't know if that's the biggest problem with Ford. I think Ford's lineup is a little bit stale. Like they launched the Mach-E, the F-150 Lightning, and the E-Transit, what, like 5, 6 years ago, and
Yeah.
nothing. We're
Well,
waiting for
we know that Ford has this new team that they put together to build whole new platforms for electric vehicles that are going to be much more efficient, cheaper. You know, they brought in the Xiaomi as a benchmark and everything like that. So I think now that they are bidding a lot more on that, and that is, you know, that has stalled the rest of their plans. I think because they see a bigger step change with that than what was planned before. So I think that has delayed a lot. But I'm confident, especially with Ford's leadership. I like the leadership at Ford. I think we're gonna see a comeback on the EV front, even with the BBB.
All right. Do you think Cadillac getting into F1 will influence their EV production? I don't know how that would
I think
do
it's
that.
gonna help with their demand a little bit. I think that the Cadillac is GM is pushing the Cadillac brand forward as like their EV leading one, and I think they want to go on the performance front a little bit more too. So Formula One does help with that awareness because I think the Cadillac brand obviously I think peaked in the '60s and then now it's kind of making a comeback.
All right. Daniel Young says when FSD 12 came out, it impressed, and you'd be a true believer if FSD kept progressing. It hasn't, and you're negative. Do you think Tesla can still get it right with their huge AI spending?
I mean, it depends what you mean by getting right. For me, getting it right would be delivering on the promise of unsupervised self-driving in consumer vehicle. I don't think that's going to be achieved with any of the hardware that's currently in consumer vehicles. I think that Tesla can do things like the robotaxi service that they did. So with high level of remote supervision. Again, I was also surprised by the in-car supervisor. That was like I didn't think they would need that on top of it, but if they have a good remote control system, they can remote supervise and have a mapped out ground truth area that's geofence and operate within that. I think they can have like some kind of like decent level Waymo like service. But again, that's Waymo like service, all the same limitation. They're gonna grow as fast as anything. So I think that's doable right now with the current system they have. I think that I'm pretty confident that Tesla's going to unveil a level 5 system that's going to have probably a radar in it. I wouldn't be
You think
shocked
so?
at all. Yep.
LiDAR?
LiDAR, I think like, and it's unfortunate. It's because unless Elon goes away, like if Elon removes himself from the equation, I think they can launch LiDAR. But Elon is kind has digging himself too big of a hole with that, and I think he would it would get like destroyed if Tesla actually put a lidar on their car. Even though it makes so much sense now, you have like $200 radars that you can put on their car, and they are super useful. The radar would be a little bit less of a loss for Tesla and would be still very useful, especially for static object, getting some wave information from the radio waves. It would be very useful for certain application. And with that, with a bigger computer, more powerful computer, that's a little bit more on par with the latest one that are coming out in China on those Chinese EVs, the Tor from Nvidia and the Turing from Xpeng and others. I think you could probably get to unsupervised self-driving in consumer vehicles with that too, but like we're talking about releasing that, but I don't think will come until next year, and then ramping up training and machine learning on that system specifically. And I think I can see Tesla delivering unsupervised self-driving in consumer vehicle in like 2028, 2029, something like that. If they would aim for level 3, I think they could already be very close to level 3 on the system they have right now, probably next year or the year after that on other vehicles, but obviously they're not really going for that. So yeah, I think it would be very possible.
All right, BYD has plants in Mexico, so you can just go buy it there and drive it across, except the cars that they build in Mexico aren't really the exciting. they're the kind of utilitarian cars.
Yeah,
So you can't quite do that
still
yet.
getting pretty good though.
Yeah, getting great. Hey y'all, it boils down to the bait and switch on the solid state batteries never being delivered as promised. Being rigged to burn isn't fun. I don't know what that's about.
I'm not sure what he's talking about here because they are coming. They already are getting inside serious car prototypes right now in several markets, and I would expect like maybe you're gonna see the first one next year in commercial vehicle and in vehicle available, and definitely by the end of the decade at this point.
All right, here's an interesting one. Just for transparency, would Electrek be open to showing its financial books to remove the perception of journalistic bias? What would
We just this episode is brought to you by Botch Mobility. Like we tell you exactly who our sponsors are, so I don't know what
what
else you
is
want.
what is the assumption like that
Oh, okay. Oh, they think that we're getting paid by whoever.
like
Like,
who? Like GM is paying us? Or
yeah, yeah.
I mean
GM they paid us to do like a full year of every week reporting on the battery fires for the Bolt TV until they actually did the recall. After
right.
that, they were like, "Hey, how much money you want?" Like it makes no sense. Absolutely no. uh there's no back doors, no anything. Like everything if anything, like the shadiest thing that Electrek did was us being invested in Tesla, reporting on Tesla, and we have been the most critical people about Tesla too while we were invested also, especially me, obviously. Seth sold a little bit earlier than I did, but I sold only last year, and I was extremely critical for Tesla for years before that. So I think we're pretty. It's pretty obvious what our bias is, which is we are for the accelerated adoption of electric vehicle because we think that when you combine that with renewable energy, you're going to have an excellent impact on the environment, and that's what we want. That's it.
All right, Drew D asked, didn't Tesla have radar and then took it off?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, but Elon is on the record, and that's in one of my posts this week. I don't remember. Yeah, I think it's in my Tesla secret master plan. Uh, we have the screenshot of it and everything of Elon telling us that a high definition radar would actually be with vision would be safer than just vision. So he knew that. He said that. And then in that the conversation, I sent him, and then he said, "But such a radar doesn't exist." That was in 2021, by the way. I sent him one. I said, like, this is a high definition radar. Also, I was thinking, like, isn't a lidar basically a high definition radar? It's just with laser rather than radio waves. Like, it's the end product is very similar. Anyway, he didn't respond when I said that. So, but he did say that he thinks a high definition radar plus vision is safer than just vision.
All right, Kanevsky says Elon could adopt LiDAR. He would just call it something else or say that his LiDAR is better, cheaper, and the only one that's good for self-driving.
I've seen no evidence that Tesla is working on a lidar system, so I don't. They've used lidar for like mapping and everything, but I don't think they're working on one.
All
Like
right.
aside from China, like is the one that most like Chinese automakers use. Like I think like the YU7 at least was using them, and the YU7 has a big lidar on the front end. I think they were selling them for like $250, something like that. So, and it's very good. Like on the YU7, I have it on my YouTube video. You can check it out on Electrek, where you can see a cloud point map live being created in front of you on the center display from the lidar. It's awesome.
All right. And the last is Drew D saying, I was just going to say, I think their books say Bosch money.
Yeah.
So I guess LiDAR has issues in the weather and it's fairly expensive. So I think that's why Elon won't go that way. I could see radar though.
I mean, like I said, $200 a sensor now. So obviously a lot more expensive than the camera. Cameras or sensors are extremely cheap, but still like very doable if you're selling an $8,000 full self-driving hardware suite, which is what Tesla is doing. Of course, that's a software package, but obviously it pays for the hardware at the end of the day also. And yes, it has some issues in some weather, but less like that's the whole point. Combined, the cameras also have a lot of issues in weather. I mean, look at Tesla's robotaxi program. It doesn't work when there's a light rain, really. So you combining them both together, like they complement each other when with their witnesses when with different weather. So I think that makes a ton of sense. And I know a lot of people find it controversial, the Mark Rober video about LiDAR versus vision-based system. But I think it does demonstrate that overall LiDAR is better than just cameras when it comes to weather.
All
And
right. Yeah. Last comment, LiDAR plus radar is much better in weather than cameras only. Agree.
well, that's obvious.
Yep.
And most cars that are coming out of China right now on the higher end, on the premium end, and when I say that premium, like it's still started like $35,000, but something like the YU7, for example, for Xiaomi, has a lidar sensor, has a high definition 4 millimeters wave radar sensor on top of all the cameras. So most companies are going to like let's future proof the hardware suite, and then um, we'll figure out the software after the fact. And they're getting close to on the software side. But Tesla is doing the completely opposite. They're like taking away from the hardware suite, taking away, which kind of made sense on the cost perspective. But when you have, and it wouldn't be that much of a problem if you haven't promised unsupervised full self-driving on those cars. If you're just like, all right, we can still like, there's still a lot of room for improvement on the software side with machine learning on the vision-based system, and we can deliver like safety features and make it safer, while comfort features and maybe level 3 autonomy at some point. That's not what happened. Like they were like, hey, we're going to deliver you full self-driving unsupervised on all consumer vehicle produced in 2016, and make the hardware suite increasingly worse throughout those years, other than the computer, to be fair, but still. So it's an issue. All right, I think that's pretty much it. Snow could be a massive issue, and I think it will be massive. Yeah, I mean, you won't see Tesla launching the robotaxi in Montreal. You see it launching in Austin, and also not when it's not raining in Austin, so it's not a great look either. But yeah, that's it for this week's episode of Electrek Podcast. Everyone, thank you for joining us. If you did enjoy the show, please give us a like, a thumbs up, a subscribe. All these things are free and they help the show a ton. And we're going to see you same time, same place next week.